Not every smile is a blessing. Sometimes it's a mask hiding something far darker. Have you ever noticed how certain people drain your spirit without saying a single harsh word? They laugh with you, call themselves your friend, maybe even family. Yet when they leave, you're left heavy, anxious, or hollow. What if the greatest danger in your circle isn't the enemy outside, but the one disguised as someone close? What if the hand on your shoulder is not guiding you, but pulling you down quietly, patiently, while smiling the whole time? This isn't superstition. This is spiritual warfare hidden in everyday relationships. Energy doesn't lie. And when your spirit sounds the alarm, it's rarely wrong. You felt it before. That unexplainable discomfort around someone who claims to love you. That rising tension in your chest. The silent heaviness that follows them like a shadow. Today, we'll uncover how to spot demons hidden in friends and family. Not with red eyes or horns, but with subtle actions. Twisted words and draining presence, because if you don't recognize them early, you risk giving away the most sacred thing you have, your peace. There comes a time when the people closest to you reveal who they truly are, not with confessions, but through energy, through the unease your soul feels when they enter the room. It isn't superstition, it's discernment. You know the feeling, the heavy atmosphere, the draining conversations, the unexplained anxiety. You walk into a room feeling fine, but after being with them, your spirit feels robbed. These aren't random moods, they are signals. We're not talking about ghosts, we're talking about spirits moving through people. They manipulate, confuse, and quietly destroy. Some friends and family members don't need to insult you or strike you to wound you. Their presence alone drains your energy like water leaking from a cracked vessel. You try to justify it. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe you're being too sensitive, but deep down you know something is off. The pattern is too consistent. These people never pour into you. They only take, they use your ears, your time, your sympathy, your energy. Your spirit becomes their dumping ground without your consent. And when they leave, you're the one left carrying their weight. It isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. Your body doesn't see it, but your soul feels it. These are the ones who smile as friends, embrace as family, yet hide something darker beneath. This is spiritual parasitism. The most dangerous part is they may not even realize what they're doing, but ignorance doesn't make the impact less deadly. You must stop asking, "Am I overreacting?" and start asking, "Why does my soul keep warning me?" That unease is not paranoia, it's protection. Your energy is your currency. Not everyone deserves access to it. Pay attention to the aftermath of every interaction. Do you feel lighter or heavier? Inspired or anxious? Whole or empty? Demons don't always scream. Sometimes they whisper with a smile, speak calmly, and call you family. Yet if every encounter leaves you less connected to peace and purpose, recognize it. This is not just toxicity, it is spiritual sabotage. You don't need to fight or argue. You don't need to convince or fix them. You need to step away and reclaim your energy. Your spirit already knows what your mind keeps denying. Not everyone near you is good for your soul. Some are feeding on it. Protect your peace. Guard your energy. Your life depends on it. These hidden spirits twist the truth subtly, strategically, like a snake coiling tighter with every lie. They rarely tell outright falsehoods. Instead, they distort reality just enough to plant doubt and suspicion. Their weapon is suggestion. I don't want to say anything, but maybe you should watch out for them. Little phrases that plant seeds of division. They fracture your trust, isolate you from those who truly care, and position themselves as your only anchor. They create confusion while pretending to protect you. They stir chaos, then stand aside as if innocent. That is spiritual warfare disguised as conversation. And often these people seem deeply loyal, even loving. They claim they have your back, but their loyalty is poison wrapped in comfort. They whisper warnings that only weaken you. Suddenly you're questioning good people, doubting genuine relationships, believing distortions over truth. That is the mark of spiritual sabotage. It isn't obvious conflict, it's quiet corrosion, and it doesn't end there. These hidden enemies clap the loudest when you're broken, yet fall silent when you rise. They comfort your weakness but resent your strength. They feel needed when you're dependent, but threatened when you stand tall. Why? Because your strength exposes their insecurity. Your healing shatters their illusion of control. They prefer you broken because brokenness makes them feel powerful. But once you reclaim your worth, they can no longer dominate. So they disguise jealousy as humor. They mock your ambition. They belittle your progress. They tell you not to get ahead of yourself. Not out of love, but out of fear that you'll outgrow them. This is not love. It is control. They don't love your true self. They love the version of you that needs them, doubts itself, and accepts their dominance. Real love doesn't shrink when you rise. It celebrates your strength, and here lies the truth. Demons don't always rage. They persist quietly. They twist trust, exploit guilt, and manipulate boundaries until you doubt your own worth. But the moment you recognize these signs, the power begins to shift back into your hands. On the next page, we'll expose how guilt becomes their strongest chain and how you can break it to protect your peace. We ended the last part by uncovering that not every smile is sincere, not every word is harmless, and not every friend or family member carries light within them. Sometimes what looks like care is actually spiritual sabotage. Now let's continue deeper, because once you see the patterns clearly, you'll realize how consistent, calculated, and destructive these hidden forces can be. They twist the truth quietly, strategically, with the patience of a snake wrapping itself around its prey. You won't see it at first. They don't tell outright lies, because that would be too easy to detect. Instead, they work with half-truths, with carefully chosen words that drip poison into your thoughts. Their favorite weapon is suggestion, phrases like, "I don't want to say anything, but," or "maybe you should keep an eye on them." Little comments planted like seeds of suspicion begin to grow cracks in your trust. The result? You start questioning people who genuinely care about you. They isolate you not by force, but by confusion. And once you're separated from those who guard your spirit, you become easier to influence, easier to manipulate, easier to control. This is not an accident. It's a calculated disruption. Notice how they stir the pot just enough to create emotional reactions. Then step back and act innocent. They'll say, "I didn't do anything, I was just looking out for you." But if you trace back the roots of conflict, again and again you'll find their fingerprints. This is spiritual warfare disguised as casual conversation. And the most dangerous part? These people don't always present as enemies. Often they appear loyal, loving, even protective. They tell you they've got your back. They claim they're just being honest. But honesty that leaves you paranoid, disconnected, and heavy is not truth. It's poison dressed as concern. So you begin to wonder, why do I feel more suspicious, more uncertain, more burdened every time I talk to this person? Why does the world feel darker when I leave their presence? The answer is simple. They are not protecting you. They are isolating you. And isolation is the first step to ownership. Demons don't always roar. They whisper, they gaslight, they flatter, and they divide. Watch closely. If someone constantly brings up the flaws of others but never admits their own, if they highlight every crack but never build anything solid, understand this. They're not trying to heal you. They're trying to weaken you. And here is another clear sign. They celebrate your weakness but go silent in the face of your strength. Think about it. Who comforts you at your lowest but turns cold when you rise? Who claps the loudest when you're broken but looks away when you begin to heal? These are not friends. They are spiritual liabilities. At rock bottom, they show up with sympathy. But the moment your strength returns, their energy shifts. Suddenly they're distant, sarcastic, dismissive. Why? Because your strength threatens the false power they had over you. As long as you remain dependent, they feel necessary, relevant, even superior. But when you begin to walk tall, their illusion collapses. And here lies the twisted truth. They don't love you for who you are. They love the broken version of you that validates their ego. They love the version that doubts, that seeks approval, that carries emotional debt. But the moment you set boundaries, prioritize your growth, or step boldly into your purpose, their mask begins to slip. They disguise their jealousy as humor, mocking your dreams with sarcasm. They tell you your progress is just a phase, your vision unrealistic. They remind you, don't forget where you came from, not as encouragement, but as a subtle command to shrink back into a smaller version of yourself, the version that made them comfortable. Deep down, they don't want you to win unless your victory still keeps them on top. That's not love, that's fear, a spirit that feeds on insecurity, a spirit that prefers you tied down so their shadow feels taller. This is why you must watch how people respond, not to your pain, but to your healing. Anyone who feels more connected to your suffering than to your growth is not a friend. Demons don't always destroy with rage. Sometimes they destroy with comfort, keeping you broken so you remain dependent. Stop confusing pity for loyalty. Stop mistaking control for care. True love does not resent your power, it fuels it. Now notice another sign. They refuse to respect your boundaries. These are the people who hear your no and treat it as a challenge. You say you need space, they invade it. You say you're busy, they demand your time. You set a limit, they push harder. This isn't miscommunication. It's a trespass, a violation of your spirit. They value access to you more than they value you. And access without respect is not love. It's exploitation. These individuals move with entitlement. They believe your time, your presence, your emotional energy belongs to them. Even when you've made your limits clear, they wrap their intrusions in the language of love or concern. But at the core, it's always about control. And here's the truth. Boundaries terrify manipulators. Why? Because boundaries are walls they cannot climb. Boundaries strip them of the ability to drain you. That's why they resist them so fiercely. They'll guilt trip you with phrases like, "You've changed," or "You're being distant." But the reality is, you've simply stopped allowing them to exploit you. Boundaries don't just protect your peace. They reveal who never respected it in the first place. Anyone who responds to your limits with anger, passive aggression, or emotional withdrawal is showing you their love was never unconditional. It was based on convenience. And remember this, you don't owe unlimited access to anyone, especially not to those who trample over your soul just to get what they want. Demonic energy doesn't always strike with violence. It wears you down through persistence. It erodes your strength drop by drop until you feel powerless to say no. But your peace is sacred. Your time is finite. Your presence is not a right, it's a privilege. Guard your gates. Not everyone deserves entry. And anyone who tries to break through is not a guest. They are an intruder. We ended the last part by exposing how guilt and anxiety become tools of control, how they work quietly to drain you of strength, and how even those closest to you can feed on your spirit rather than nourish it. Now let's go further, because there are even deeper signs, clear signals that reveal the presence of hidden demons behind familiar faces. They trigger a storm inside you without speaking a harsh word. You could be in the same room with them and suddenly your chest tightens, your stomach twists, your pulse begins to race. Outwardly, nothing seems wrong. They're smiling, maybe laughing, acting as if everything is normal, but your spirit is unsettled, restless, uneasy. That isn't paranoia, it's discernment. Your soul is picking up what your eyes cannot see. This anxiety isn't born from conflict or argument. It comes from misalignment. It's the vibration of dark energy clashing with the peace inside you. They may cloak it in charm, in familiarity, in words that sound gentle, but their aura shouts unrest, envy, bitterness, manipulation. And here's the proof. You leave their presence second-guessing yourself, questioning your worth, replaying your choices. Their words may not be openly cruel, but their energy leaves you dimmed, confused, smaller than you were before. That's how you know they haven't just touched your mind. They've disturbed your spirit. Anxiety, in moments like these, is not weakness, it is warning. Your body is wiser than your excuses. When your peace is repeatedly disturbed in the same presence, don't brush it off. Don't label it overthinking. It is your spirit saying, "You're not safe here." Because the unseen world is louder than you think. And here lies another undeniable sign. They laugh when you cry, but they cry when you shine, when you are broken. They feel taller. When you rise, they feel smaller. In your pain, they find entertainment. In your progress, they find resentment. Think about it. When you hit rock bottom, they hover near with shallow sympathy, with smirks disguised as concern, with phrases dressed up as tough love. They may not laugh out loud, but you see it in their eyes, that flicker of satisfaction, that subtle enjoyment of your struggle. They offer comfort that never heals, only prolongs your weakness. But let your healing come. Let your glow return. Let doors begin to open. And suddenly they fall silent. They withdraw support. They grow distant. They twist your victories into arrogance. Don't let it go to your head, they say, or worse. You've changed. But isn't that the point of growth? To change, to evolve, to transform. Yet for them, your change is a threat. Your rise unmasks their stagnation. Your light exposes their shadows. And instead of celebrating, they shrink back into resentment. Understand this. They do not truly hate you. They hate what you represent. Courage, growth, potential. Every step you take toward healing reminds them of the steps they refused to take. Every victory you claim exposes the chains they still wear. That is not love, it is bondage. They were never meant to walk beside you into your becoming. They were only comfortable with the weaker version of you. the one that validated their ego. And now that you are stronger, clearer, freer, they mourn, not your absence, but their loss of control. So pay attention, who claps when you win, and who disappears when you rise. True love celebrates your strength. It does not resent it. Real loyalty stands tall beside you. It doesn't shrink when your glow grows brighter. And there is more. Hidden demons reveal themselves, not only in how they treat you, but in how they react to truth itself. Notice carefully. These are the ones who cannot sit still when light enters the room. They grow restless at honesty. They flinch at righteousness. They resist the very mention of truth. You've seen it. Speak about growth. And they change the subject. Mention discipline, and they laugh it off. Bring up God, integrity, or virtue, and suddenly the air thickens with tension. They may roll their eyes, crack jokes, or grow uncomfortably silent. Why? Because light exposes what they have been hiding. Demons do not fear your opinions. They fear truth, because truth is light, and light reveals shadows. Truth unmasks manipulation. Truth burns through confusion. And for those who thrive in deception, truth is unbearable. This is why conversations with them feel shallow. My attempts at depth fall flat. They are comfortable with gossip, with complaints, with distractions, but bring up accountability, self-mastery, or faith. And watch how quickly their energy shifts. It is not coincidence, it is revelation. They are not resisting you. They are resisting the truth within you. And so here is the lesson. Protect your peace, but also protect your truth. Do not water it down to keep others comfortable. Do not silence your growth to preserve shallow bonds. Because the moment you begin shrinking your light for the sake of fragile spirits, you've already begun losing the very gift you were called to guard. You owe no apology for shining. You owe no explanation for growing. And you owe no loyalty to those who celebrate your weakness, but despise your strength. At the end of it all, the question is simple. Do the people around you anchor your spirit, or do they drain it? Do they rise with your healing, or recoil from your light? Do they rejoice in your progress, or do they retreat into resentment? The answers are already written in their actions. Your spirit has already felt the truth. All that remains is the courage to accept it. And here's where it all comes together. Because the final and most revealing sign is not just how they treat you in weakness or in strength, but how they respond when you choose freedom. On the next page, we'll uncover why your decision to walk away, to reclaim your boundaries, and to guard your light becomes the breaking point that exposes every hidden demon once and for all. On the last page, we saw how light itself reveals the hidden, how truth unsettles those who thrive in deception, how the mention of integrity makes their shadows tremble. But there is one sign even greater than their fear of truth, and that is their reaction when you finally decide to walk away. For manipulators, for spiritual parasites disguised as friends or family, nothing is more terrifying than your freedom. As long as you stay in their circle, as long as you allow them to drain your energy, they feel secure, they feel powerful, they feel in control. But the moment you say enough, the moment you choose to guard your peace, to build boundaries, to step into your strength, they unravel. That is when the mask slips. Fully, that is when their true spirit emerges. Watch carefully. When you reclaim your life, they will not clap, they will not cheer, they will not honor your growth. Instead, they will twist your freedom into betrayal. They will accuse you of being selfish, ungrateful, arrogant. They will say, "You've changed." And they will mean it as an insult. But isn't that the point of growth? To change, to rise, to evolve, to step into a higher version of yourself? Yet to them, your transformation is a loss, because a free and whole you can no longer be controlled. This is why walking away is the most dangerous act you can commit in their presence. Not dangerous to you, but dangerous to their illusion of power. For years they fed on your silence. They thrived on your compliance. They drew energy from your willingness to shrink. And now, as you stand taller, they see their influence dissolve like smoke in sunlight. So they push harder. They guilt trip. They remind you of all they did for you. They replay history, with themselves as the savior and you as the debtor. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me. These words are not truth. They are shackles forged from guilt. But remember, guilt is their last weapon when every other chain has broken. And when guilt no longer binds you, they move to anger. They lash out, spread rumors, paint you as the villain. They abandoned me. Or as they'll say, they think they're better than us. But beneath their rage is panic, because your freedom forces them to face what they never wanted to admit, that they were never truly strong without your weakness to feed on. And yet, here is the paradox. Their rage is proof of your healing. Their accusations are proof of your freedom. Their collapse is proof of your rise. The more they resist your light, the brighter your light shines. Think of it this way. When you carry a lantern into a cave, the darkness will always retreat. It cannot coexist with the flame, and those who lived comfortably in the dark will curse the light. Not because the light is evil, but because it exposes the truth they had hidden. This is why your departure feels like betrayal to them, not because you wronged them, but because you refused to remain a prisoner. Your leaving doesn't harm them, it only unmasks them. Do not mistake their anger for evidence that you're doing wrong. In fact, it's the clearest confirmation that you're doing right. Because when toxic spirits can no longer feed on you, they will starve, and in their starvation, their claws come out. But you must hold steady. Stand firm. Do not apologize for protecting your peace. Do not retreat because they shout louder. Remember, silence is strength. Boundaries are armor, and peace is your crown. When you rise with dignity. You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove. You don't need to fight on their level. Let your growth be your answer. Let your freedom be your response. Let your peace speak louder than their chaos. For in the end, they will fade. Their anger will exhaust itself. Their accusations will echo into emptiness. And you, still standing, still shining, will know that your choice was the right one. Because your freedom is not selfish, it is survival. Your boundaries are not cruelty, they are clarity. Your peace is not arrogance, it is alignment. And the truth is this: you were never theirs to own. Your spirit was never meant to be chained. Your soul was not created to be a feeding ground for insecurity. You were born to rise, to grow, to shine, to walk forward whole and free. And so we arrive at the turning point. The mask has slipped, the truth has spoken. Your freedom has exposed the shadows. But what comes next is even deeper. Because the choice to protect your peace is not just about leaving what is harmful. It is about building what is true. On the next page, we'll explore how reclaiming your boundaries allows you to rebuild your life in strength, clarity, and unshakable peace. On the last page, we saw what happens when you finally choose freedom, how the masks slip, how guilt and anger rise, how those who thrived in your weakness crumble when you walk away. But walking away is not the end. It is the beginning. Because leaving behind what drains, you create space for what strengthens you. Protecting your peace is not just about removing harmful people. It is about rebuilding your life with boundaries, with clarity, with truth. It is about constructing a fortress within your soul, one that cannot be shaken by manipulation, one that cannot be breached by guilt, one that cannot be toppled by anger disguised as love. When you reclaim your boundaries, you reclaim your identity. For too long you were defined by the expectations of others, by the roles they wrote for you, by the emotional debts they demanded you pay. But when you draw the line, when you say no more, you declare to yourself and to the world, my life belongs to me, my spirit belongs to peace, my gift belongs to purpose, and this act of rebuilding is not selfish. It is sacred, because the most precious thing you guard is not your schedule or your possessions. It is your energy, your mind, your inner stillness. Without peace, even the greatest achievements feel empty, but with peace, even small victories feel profound. This is why ancient wisdom spoke so often of the inner life. The ancients knew that the real battle was not with swords, but with spirits, not with enemies outside, but with voices within. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Is that not the same truth we face here? You cannot control the manipulations of others. You cannot stop their whispers or accusations, but you can guard your mind. You can control your response. You can choose peace over chaos. Rebuilding begins quietly. It begins with small choices that stack like stones into a wall of strength. Choosing silence instead of reacting to provocation, choosing distance instead of stepping into drama, choosing truth instead of swallowing lies. Each choice is a brick in your fortress, each boundary a gate that keeps your spirit safe. And soon you notice something remarkable. The anxiety begins to fade, the heaviness lifts, the guilt loses its grip. You breathe differently, you think more clearly, you rest more deeply. This is the fruit of protecting your peace. But peace is not passive, it is powerful. It is not weakness, it is discipline. Because to guard your peace requires courage. It requires the strength to say no when yes would be easier. It requires the resolve to walk alone when the crowd pulls you to stay. It requires faith that the emptiness created by your boundaries will one day be filled with something greater, and it will. For once the toxic exits your life, the authentic has room to enter. Once you step away from the false, the true can finally appear. Suddenly you begin to attract what aligns with your spirit. People who celebrate your victories, who respect your boundaries, who speak truth without twisting it, who pour into you rather than drain you. And in their presence you feel lighter, stronger, clearer. That is how you know the difference. This is the rebuilding. It is not about isolation. It is about alignment. It is not about shutting everyone out. It is about opening the door only to those who honor your peace. It is about creating an environment where your spirit can thrive rather than just survive. And here's the deeper truth. Protecting your peace is protecting your purpose. Because the more drained you are, the harder it is to hear your calling. The more manipulated you are, the harder it is to walk in clarity. But when your spirit is still, when your mind is calm, your true path becomes clear. This is why the ancients valued stillness. Why Marcus, despite ruling an empire in chaos, wrote daily to steady his soul. He knew that peace within was the only shield strong enough to face storms without. So too for you. Protect your peace, not just for comfort, but for clarity. Not just for rest, but for revelation. Because in silence, your true self speaks loudest. And once you rebuild this way, once your spirit is rooted in peace, nothing can shake you. Not gossip, not lies, not jealousy, not manipulation. You will hear their whispers and remain unmoved. You will feel their anger and remain grounded. You will see their accusations and remain free, because your fortress is not outside, it is within. And this leads us into the next step, because protecting your peace is not only about rebuilding within, it is also about how you now walk in the world. On the next page, we'll uncover how carrying peace into every space you enter transforms not only you, but the environment around you, turning your life into a shield of strength and a light for others. On the last page, we saw that protecting your peace is not just about retreating inward. It is about rebuilding a fortress within. But a fortress is not built to be hidden. It is built to stand, to endure storms, to be seen as a symbol of strength. And once you protect your peace inside, the next step is carrying that peace into every place you go. Peace is not meant to be selfish. It is not meant to be locked away like treasure in a vault. Peace is strength, and true strength radiates when you carry peace with you. You don't just transform yourself, you transform the atmosphere. Think about it. Some people walk into a room and bring heaviness, tension, unease. They drain the air without saying a word. But others enter quietly, and yet the whole environment changes. The storm in the room softens, conversations slow, hearts ease. That is the power of a spirit anchored in peace. This is the gift you carry once you've reclaimed your boundaries. Once you've silenced the chaos around you, you become a source of calm for others, and that calm is contagious. Like fire, but in reverse. It doesn't burn. It soothes. It spreads relief instead of destruction. This is why Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning to expect arrogance, deceit, jealousy, and resistance from people, and yet he resolved not to let them take his peace. He knew that if he carried calm into chaos, he could change more than if he allowed chaos into his calm. The Emperor's wisdom echoes for us now. Guard your mind, and your presence will guard others. When you bring peace into the world, you dismantle manipulation without raising your voice. You defeat envy without clashing with it. You disarm lies without lowering yourself to argue. Your stillness becomes your shield, your silence your sword. And here's the truth. The world is desperate for that kind of presence. Families are fractured, communities are anxious. Workplaces are thick with hidden battles. People are drowning in noise, in comparison, in fear. And in the midst of that, one person carrying true peace is like a lighthouse on a storming shore. You do not need to preach loudly. You do not need to convince or debate. Just by standing in your own calm, you become a mirror. People begin to see themselves clearly. They recognize what is false, what is manipulative, what is draining. Your peace reveals their chaos, the way light reveals dust in the air. But this is not easy. To carry peace outward means you will be tested. Your patience will be stretched. Your boundaries will be challenged. Your silence will be mocked. But these tests are not signs of weakness. They are proof that your strength is real. Because only something powerful is tested. And when the test comes, remind yourself of this. Your peace is not fragile, it is forged. It has been built through fire, through rejection, through betrayal, through the collapse of what you once trusted. It is not porcelain, it is iron. And when the storms come again, your peace will not shatter, it will stand. And here lies the deeper truth. By protecting your peace, you are protecting not just yourself, but everyone connected to you. Your family feels the difference. Your friends sense the clarity. Even strangers catch a glimpse of light in your steadiness. Because peace multiplies, it ripples outward, but only if you continue to guard it. Because peace is both a gift and a discipline. It requires daily attention. It requires you to choose silence over conflict, to choose distance over drama, to choose truth over comfort. And slowly, as you live this way, you begin to see your life transform. Anxiety no longer controls you. Manipulators no longer drain you. Chaos no longer defines you. Instead, you define the spaces you enter. Instead, you become the steady one in the storm. And when others ask, how do you remain calm when the world is breaking apart? You will know the answer, because I have chosen peace. Because I have guarded my mind. Because I have refused to let the chaos outside dictate the calm inside. This is the essence of self-mastery, not controlling the world, but controlling yourself. Not silencing others, but silencing the storms within. Not escaping life's trials, but meeting them with steady hands and a clear spirit. And this brings us to the close of the journey. From spotting hidden demons to breaking free. From guarding your boundaries to rebuilding your fortress. From reclaiming your peace to carrying it into the world. Now let us step back and reflect on it all. Gathering every lesson, every warning, every truth, and weave them into one final call to resilience, to wisdom, and to inner mastery. We have walked through shadows and light, through deception and truth, through betrayal and freedom, and at every step, the lesson has been clear. Your peace is your most sacred possession. Not every smile is genuine. Not every hand on your shoulder is meant to guide you. Some who call themselves friends carry the weight of hidden demons. Some who claim family carry the chains of envy. And unless you learn to discern, unless you learn to guard your spirit, you risk surrendering the very gift that makes life worth living. We uncovered how manipulation works, not with open hostility, but with quiet corrosion, a whisper here, a doubt there, a guilt that chains, a boundary that is trampled. And slowly you become smaller, dimmer, less yourself. But then came the turning point, the moment of clarity, the decision to fall forward into truth rather than backward into chains. To say, enough, my spirit belongs to peace. My life belongs to purpose, and in that choice, you reclaimed your energy. You built boundaries like walls of stone. You realize that guilt is not love, that control is not care, that true loyalty does not resent your strength, but celebrates it. From there, the rebuilding began. Stone by stone, choice by choice, silence instead of conflict, clarity instead of chaos, distance instead of drama. And your fortress grew, not outside, but within. And from that fortress, your peace began to radiate. You became the calm in storms. You became the one who steadied rooms. You became proof that resilience is possible, that clarity is survival, that peace is power. But the ancients remind us, this is not just survival, it is mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." And Denzel's story echoes it. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. Two voices centuries apart, but speaking one truth. Failure, rejection, obstacles, they are not endings, they are beginnings. The ghosts of unfulfilled potential will not haunt the one who dares to live fully. The accusations of manipulators will not bind the one who guards their mind. The storms of the world will not drown the one whose spirit is anchored in peace. So here is the reflection. Your life is yours. Your peace is sacred. Your strength is forged. Do not give it away cheaply. Do not shrink for the comfort of others. Do not let fear keep you chained. Choose to live with courage. Choose to set boundaries without apology. Choose to guard your energy as the treasure it is. Choose to shine even when shadows hiss. Because in the end, mastery of the self is mastery of life. The world outside will rage, but if you are steady inside, you will endure. People will twist, mock, resent, but if your spirit is rooted, you will rise. So let these words echo beyond this page. Protect your peace, guard your mind, fall forward into strength. And when the storms come, and they will, remember the ancient wisdom. Power over your mind is power over your life. This is not just philosophy, it is survival, it is freedom, it is destiny. Live it daily, live it fully, live it boldly, and may your life be a fortress of peace and a beacon of light for all who cross your path.